Okay, welcome back. So, in continuation from where we left it, in the previous video, we discussed on what NACL is all about, okay, and we had to, do some detailed configuration when it comes to NACL. Okay, we saw how NACL could be created, associated to the various subnet, inbound and outbound traffic, configured, and I told you what is needed, how it works, and all the rest. So today we are going to focus on security group, which is another firewall and also one of the most important firewalls we have, okay, in the cloud. Now, before we actually dive into configuring our security group, let me just give you some brief explanation on what security group is. So NACL, which was a stateless, security group is a stateful firewall, okay? And security group is an instance level, which simply means security group is a firewall that's going to protect your EC2 instances in the cloud, okay? Your compute services in the cloud. As you can see here, it protects your EC2 instances. Now, if you don't know what EC2 instances are, don't bother. We are going to get there, okay? Now, security group support only allow role. You should take note. It's different from NACL that support both allow and deny role. But when we get to security group, it supports only allow role. Automatically, what it allows return traffic. So if you notice when we were configuring NACL, we had to do what? I told you that when you modify the inbound, role of a NACL, you need to replicate the same thing for the outbound. But for security group, it's different. Security group, we edit only the inbound rule because by default, security group is going to do what? It's going to send all traffic out. So it automatically allow return traffic. Now by default, they block all inbound traffic. So you should know that the default security group you find on your account does not allow any inbound traffic. Okay, so if you when you create your account, when you create a security group, for example, by default, it blocks all inbound traffic. If you notice, when we created our security group, I told you not to modify anything. And if you had to verify the inbound rule, if you notice, no traffic was allowed. Everything is blocked. Which simply means if you create a security group and just attach it to an EC2 without, allowing some traffic, it's not going to work. Okay, so only the inbound rule is modified for a security group. Nota bene, rules are applied what on protocols like SSH, HTTP, HTTPS, and so many other protocols. So that is basically, a summary of what security group are. And this is an example of protocols that you should know. Okay, like SSH, port 22, HTTP, port 80, 443 for HTTPS, RDP, and the rest. So let's move back to our management console, log into my account, access my VPC dashboard, and under security, click on security group. So these are the two security groups that we created. As I said, one will be used to protect the private EC2 instances and one will be used to protect the public. So we are going to use the public as our example for today. So when you click public, as I said, security group, you don't associate it to any subnet, okay? It's only attached when you are creating your compute services. That is when you're going to attach it to that particular service. So you select your security group. For mine, I'm going to select the public. Click inbound. If you notice no role has been allowed by default, when you create a default security group, no role is being allowed. But if you check, these are the default one created by AWS. The default one created by AWS, if you notice, all traffic is allowed. That is it. All. As you can see here. If I click edit, but don't edit, you see, right? All traffic. This is the default security group created by AWS, but we're not going to use it. Now, this is the one we created ourselves. So after you must have created yours, if you notice, no traffic is allowed. So if you click exit, you see here no traffic is allowed, which means if you attach a security group to any EC2, it's going to block all traffic going to that particular EC2. Okay, so no traffic will be allowed into that EC2. Same for the private that we created, no traffic. So it is the same principle when you are modifying your inbound rule. Allow only the protocols needed. Okay, allow only the traffic needed. For example, this is the public security group. I'm going to allow this from where I'll just put anywhere since it's public. But when it gets to the private, please don't put anywhere. put custom, and you input the CIDR block of the network that needs to access or that needs to get that traffic, and you can give a description of your choice. But since the public security group, I'll just put anywhere for now. You add, and also if you notice, security group does not work with the stuff, the whole, you know, whole number stuff like for NACO that you need to put 10 or otherwise. Security group, you just go straight, you choose your traffic and you choose the source. You choose the traffic and you choose the source. So it's not a role based firewall. So let's add, for example, the most common protocols that we will be using, RDP. Okay, I put anywhere. I put all ICMP. I put anywhere. Then the last, I put all TCP, and I put anywhere. Now I'm basically putting anywhere because, as I said, it's a public security group. Okay, it will be there to protect or to regulate, to control traffic to the public subnet. So it will really not be a problem. But when it gets to the private, you don't need to think that way. Private, you need to be strict. Okay, you need to be focused, you need to be precise. You use custom, you put only the network that is allowed. So we are going to save these changes. Now take note, when you modify the inbound rule for a particular security group, do not touch the outbound rule. Okay, leave the outbound rule as it is. Just leave it there because by default it sends out all traffic. So just leave it. Modify only the inbound rule. You do for public and you go do for private. And when you are creating your EC tools, then you can now attach it to it. So that's basically what security group is. That is how it can be configured, and those are the characteristics and criteria that makes up our firewall that protects instances called security group. So thank you very much. Stay tuned and see you in the next video. Bye for now.